7:30 right now here on this Wednesday morning. It's time for the morning interview program, one of my favorite parts of the morning. The morning interview program is a weekday presentation, 5 days a week here at 7:30, where we bring in guests for informative and entertaining and thought-provoking discussion. People from around our area or nearby our area. Today is no exception. On the phone with me this morning, delighted to have our guest with us here. Please join me in saying welcome and good morning to Tawnja Peterson. Tawnja, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm excellent. I'm up early.
Me too. That's great. Tawnja Peterson, for people who maybe are not familiar with her work, it can be found several times a week, it looks like, on the local metro area and extending even beyond the metro area sometimes, television station MCN6 for a program simply called The Tawnja Show. How about that?
It was out of necessity, trust me. Nobody could pronounce my last name.
I want to also tell people, before we get too far down the road, I want to also tell you that you can go to the website, which is Tawnja, TAWNJA.com, and you can find all kinds of great stuff. You can find information, a photo gallery. You can find, I think you can even find how to get tickets. Is that right?
Well, actually, it's a great way to actually watch the show. So if you go to the website, the show will start automatically.
Oh, cool.
So
Okay.
It's kind of a good way if people don't get MCN, they can just watch it online.
Well, that's great. All kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Tawnja, we've been looking forward to this interview for a long time. We have a friend in common here at KBEK. Our good friend Paul Hinderscheid, the radio writer, is very, very encouraging that we get together and have this discussion. I want to talk a little bit about your background first of all. Have you maybe introduce yourself and tell you how things work their way around that you suddenly find yourself, not suddenly because it's been going on for 20 years, but how you find yourself hosting this wonderful television program. Give us a little bit of background, if you please, about how that came to be.
Well, first of all, I just wanted to say thank you so much for inviting me to be on your show. It's
Well, sure.
such a great, fun morning, and I'm really excited to be here. Gosh, it's such a long story, but I guess the short version is I went to school at the University of North Dakota, and I got a degree in broadcasting, and I had always really wanted to go into television. So I moved to the big city of Minneapolis after graduation, and there was an ad in the newspaper, and it was for a local brand new concept called the Twin Cities Entertainment Channel. And it was the original two founders of Pet Food Warehouse, if you remember the big Pet Food Warehouse.
Oh, I sure do, yeah.
So these gentlemen had founded this new channel, and it was patterned after the Maui Visitors Channel. So if you've ever been to Hawaii, you fly in, and when you're in your room, they would have a program that kind of highlighted all the fun things you could do, how you could take a helicopter and go see a volcano or, all the local attractions. So they thought it would be a great idea to start something like that in Minnesota. So they came back and they started the Twin Cities Entertainment Channel, and I went in and auditioned for the host position. And at that time, as you and I were speaking earlier, I was Mrs. Minnesota the year before, so I kind of had that. Yeah, I had that little bit of of an edge at the interview. And long story short, I ended up getting the job, and they brought in a producer and a writer and a couple different salespeople. And they said, we want you to make basically a 24-hour channel with all these different local, highlights and attractions that we have here in Minnesota, like the Children's Theater and, the St. Paul Conservatory and all these, different restaurants and different things like that. So everybody started on our job, and after about 2 weeks of it, these gentlemen realized that, producing this channel wasn't as simple as pointing a camera.
It wasn't just setting up the camera and walking into the other room and putting your feet up. Obviously, more to it than that. Wow.
Exactly. So there were all these salespeople who, bless their hearts, they had 2 weeks to go out, make the contact, set up the shoot, turn it around, sell it, produce it, edit it, and these gentlemen just kind of bailed on the whole project. So they brought us all into a room one morning and they said, we regret to inform you that you're all fired.
So happy Monday morning or whatever it might have been. Wow.
They said, we're going to open a furniture store. And so it was kind of a life-changing moment. So I raised my hand and I said, well, what are you going to do with all these tapes? Because we have been, like I said, working around the clock. And they said, why? Do you want them? And so they gave me.
Oh, maybe. I don't know. So
Exactly.
you salvaged. You were able to rescue the tapes, right?
they're like, yeah, exactly. They gave me all the footage, and so the group of us that got fired broke off, and we started a show called The Minnesota Experience.
Mm-hmm.
And we went over to Metro Cable Network, and we bought a little time on it, and that was in 1995.
Right.
And we started the show called The Minnesota Experience. And so we highlighted restaurants and, resorts and doctors and dentists and pretty much anybody who just needed to advertise and get their message out. And slowly, one by one, all the people that I started with had to take other jobs and had to do other things. And so basically, after 20 years, I'm pretty much the last man standing.
But 20 years, my goodness, what a wonderful run. And obviously, it's catching on. I mean, if anyone is able to pick that up, again, in the metro area or even beyond the metro area, the station is MCN6. And Tawnja, correct me on this. If I'm looking at it right, it looks like it's on 6 times a week. Is that right, on MCN6?
It is, and the beautiful thing about here's the other part of the story about this that's kind of remarkable is that 2 months ago, I just started a brand new job as the executive director of MCN Channel 6.
Oh, how about that?
So 20 years of doing my show, the lady who ran Channel 6 retired, and I just started now as the new director.
It's obvious they have a good deal of faith and trust in you. That's great.
Oh, thank you. It's been a challenge. It's been a journey.
Well, it's terrific. And again, it's one of those things that having worked in broadcast at different times, I worked for a very short time in public access cable, and it's one of those things that people don't realize how much it really adds to a community. When there is a
even all the other stations are they're all national stations,
yep.
So there isn't much local programming. We get a little bit of Fox in the morning for news, and that's about it. So
kind of like KBEK.
There you go. Love it.
Live and local. I mean, that's really wonderful. So the Tawnja show has taken off. It's been 20 years now, and again, you can find it 6 times a week on MCN6. And I want to also once again point people toward Tawnja. That's TAWNJA.com, where you can see installments. You can see episodes of the Tawnja show to kind of let you know what the show is all about. Speaking this morning with our guest, Tawnja Peterson, who is not only the host and creator of the Tawnja show on MCN6, but is also, give me the title again, Executive Director, is that right?
Yep, Executive Director of Channel 6.
Of MCN6. Tawnja, over the years, I asked you this as we were kind of setting up this morning, but over the years, have there been particularly memorable episodes of the Tawnja show, or particularly memorable guests that you've had on, any of them that really jump out and you can say, man, this is really what it's all about? Any of those you can share with us?
Well, this is kind of a very interesting story, I think. Do you remember the big election where a certain person named Jesse Ventura won?
I tend to think remember something vaguely about that, yeah.
Well, I had at that time, I wanted to do an interview with all 3 of the candidates, and so it was Norm Coleman and Humphrey and Jesse Ventura. And
we should clarify Skip Humphrey.
Yes, Skip
right,
Humphrey.
Right.
And as you know, you have to provide equal time to all the candidates.
That's correct.
At that time, I had my interview with 2 of them, and there was this other candidate, Jesse Ventura. So I met him at Jack's restaurant.
Yeah, great place.
Yeah. We had this interview scheduled, and so he was, a little bit late, and I was a little irritated, and I was like, I don't even know this guy, and I don't really want to do this one. And anyway, he came, and he was wonderful. He was, very, I was really a lot more impressed than I thought. And anyway, we did the interview, and I had it, on the air, and then all of a sudden, what happened? He did the election, and he ended up winning. And I kept waiting for this phone call of, you can't run that interview anymore. That's Jesse Ventura. He's the governor now. Not only did I not get that call, but, he was so gracious. He let me air it. He invited me to the governor's fishing opener. It's like,
oh, my.
I just always remember that, he didn't forget where he came from.
That is so cool. Well, Jesse, people probably don't remember this, but, Jesse, after not being a pro wrestler anymore, he was not only, I think, the mayor of Brooklyn Park, but he also had a radio show for quite a long time where, so I think he had a lot of kinship with people who work in broadcast.
Sure, and I think, at that time I was so green, I just didn't really know what I was doing.
Well, that's great.
And I think he thought it was, kind of, I wasn't going to ask him any tough questions, put it that way.
So off to the fishing opener with the governor. How cool is that?
Oh, it was such a terrible day, though. It was windy and raining, and we were out on this boat, and it was freezing. And
Oh yeah, but you were fishing.
Yeah.
Fishing. It's fishing. How can it be bad? Well, that's great. Any other memorable ones that really kind of jump out at you that again really sort of make you feel kind of satisfied and proud with what you're doing?
Well, my show is paid advertising, so I've had really great sponsors that have been with me for 20 years. I don't know if any of your listeners have heard of the Guest House of the Community, but it's a pretty famous German restaurant.
Right there in Northeast Minneapolis, my old backyard.
Well, and that's where Channel 6 is, too.
That's right.
The new location. Yeah.
That's right.
So they've been with me 20 years, and we interview, we do an interview about every 6 months, and we highlight Oktoberfest, and they're very special to me. And also I've had like Continental Diamond's been on forever, and so the Pesci family is, very important to me, and David Fong's, the Fong family. So I've had these great sponsors, and that's really the only reason I've been around for 20 years.
Well, I think there's more to it than that. I think it's because just from our discussion here, you're a great interview. So that's part of it as well. But again, a TV show doesn't last for 20 years without some without some heart and soul being kind of thrown into it by yourself and by the other people who you work with.
Oh, well, thank you.
That's really wonderful. Speaking this morning with Tawnja Peterson, who is the host of the Tawnja Show, which you'll find in the Twin Cities metro area and points beyond on the station MCN6, of which Tawnja is now the executive director. And you can go to her website as well. It's Tawnja, let's start that again, TAWNJA, Tawnja.com. And you can find out more about the show, find out about Tawnja, and also see some installments of the show. Tawnja, as you were setting up this morning, as we're setting up and talking about this morning, you say you have dogs and cats at home. Is that right?
Well, that's absolutely right. I have 4 Shih Tzus and 3 cats. I've never had kids. I'm not crazy. I just never had kids.
Do they fight like cats and dogs?
Oh, it's a jungle.
Oh man. Well, so that's a house full.
It is. They're just so wonderful. We live in Forest Lake, so we have a little cabin out here on the lake, and there's a lot of acreage, and so they're running around climbing trees, and it's always an adventure every day.
Well, that's great. Again, it's a nice place to live, part of our KBEK broadcasting area. Tawnja, what can I say? Our time has flown by, and this has been great. It's been delightful to have you here with us this morning. And once again, want to recommend that people go to Tawnja.com. That's TAWNJA.com, and find out more about the Tawnja Show. And if you are in a place where MCN6 is on your local cable or satellite system, definitely check it out. It's coming up 6 times a week. I'm going to just run through this. It's twice a day on Tuesday, once a day on Wednesday, twice a day on Thursday, and once a day on Friday. I hope I got that right.
You did, but unfortunately, I just changed my show to every day at 3 o'clock.
Okay.
I'm in charge of programming now.
That's not unfortunate. That's great. So every day at 3 o'clock. That's
good. I told you. I apologize.
Tawnja, once again, great thanks for your time. And if people want to find out more about the show, once again, they can go to Tawnja, TAWNJA.com. It's been great to have you here. Great thanks for your time, and any bits of wisdom you care to share with us before we let you go here.
No, I want to thank you so much for inviting me, and I really hope that our paths cross very soon. Well,
I hope so too. Hope we have you back at some point. And again, greetings from the radio writer, our friend Paul Hinderscheid, who was the one who pointed us toward one another, and I'm sure I have a feeling he's listening right now, as a matter of fact.
All right, good morning.
Okay. Tawnja, once again, thank you very much, and we hope to get you back again sometime.
Thank you so much. God bless.
Again, more of the same here on KBEK 95.5 FM.